Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Judge Shady Court. Now, just in case you officially been living under a rock, Mark Zuckerberg, that's right, the HNIC of Facebook and other social media platforms that you and trust to believe 9 out of 10 your kids or somebody in your family uses, has been on trial. Now, you're like, what trial? Let's be clear. Judge Shady Court is great. Break it down hood style for you. Now, make sure you like, share, and comment on this video because it's very important that we keep our eyes on the prize. Now, this case right here should be one for the books because the government, that's right, the Federal Trade Commission is bringing charges against Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. They're basically saying that he was trying to monopolize the social media game. Now, if you're not aware, Mr. Zuckerberg is really, really in charge of a whole bunch of apps. I mean, he has spent billions of dollars on certain apps and has been successful in acquiring these social media apps. Now, this is where the Federal Trade Commission comes in, aka the FTC. They're trying to charge him with all type of violations of the antitrust law. Now, just like yourself, I am from the hood, and just in case you're from the upper class, you probably could care less about what's going on. But I'm telling you, this case right here is going to be very, very important for the way that we use these social media platforms in the future. Okay, so listen up. Now, first off, we're going to find out exactly, okay, who in the world is the Federal Trade Commission? The Federal Trade Commission, okay, I'm trying to monopolize myself right now and do two things at one time. Now, the Federal Trade Commission is an independent agency of the United States government whose principal mission is the enforcement of civil antitrust laws and the promotion of consumer protection. Okay, listen, I know y'all run around spend your coins, but this is how they talk about it in a courtroom. The FTC shares jurisdiction over federal civil antitrust law enforcement with the Department of Justice. Okay, now hold on, I'm going to answer your questions hood style. Make sure you smash that like button. The FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, enforces laws against unfair or deceptive business practices and anti-competitive mergers. This is what they're basically trying to say Mr. Zuckerberg is officially guilty of. Okay, now these are a few examples of just what could be considered an FTC violation. Some of the examples include false advertising, deceptive pricing, privacy violations, and anti-competitive behavior. I think that's what they're trying to hit Mr. Mark Zuckerberg for, okay? Remember, he is officially on trial in the DMV, and this case could really seal the deal on the way that we use social media. Will certain apps disappear depending on the verdict in this trial? Now, we're going to give you a hood style version. I believe, and I'll tell you towards the end of the video, after I play some clips from some folks that just get it and know exactly what's going on. I tell you, free your mind each and every time. But let's be clear. Everyone is watching this trial very, very closely. The press been running amok all week, trying to get an up and close personal idea of exactly what's going on. Now, I just gave you a couple of the examples. Now, the government are saying that Mr. Zuckerberg and his crew, now, once again, this is Meta Platforms, okay? It's not just Mr. Zuckerberg. He's the HNIC. Remember, I said the CEO, okay? I'm giving to you hood style. Remember that. Smash that like button. Also, so these are some of the violations, and we do believe that he's being charged with this antitrust lawsuit because of anti-competitive behavior. So some of the examples, like we said, false advertising, making misleading claims about a product or service. Now, we don't know because we've seen him promote Facebook and Instagram like crazy, okay? We haven't seen that yet. So also deceptive pricing. We haven't seen that as well because Facebook currently and Instagram is currently free to charge, okay, to use. The charge is free to use. Privacy violations. We haven't seen that. Now, the government, like I said, is accusing Mark Zuckerberg and his billionaire, trillionaire friends of the anti-competitive behavior. Basically, I believe that they're trying to get this man on trial for being too rich. Now, I could be wrong, but this is what it sounds like. Is Mark Zuckerberg and his crew guilty of buying up everything? So somebody just coming out of tech school wouldn't have a chance. We don't know. That's why the judge is watching this case very, very closely. Okay. Scams and fraud, we're not aware of that. Now, it's some experts that's going to come through and tell us a few things. Okay. Y'all know Mark Zuckerberg did acquire Instagram as well as Facebook. I will be right back with my commentary. In the meantime, make sure you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe. Judge Shady Court, where we get into everything hood style. Don't matter what it is.
This might be the most important tech trial of the decade and maybe even the century, and barely anyone is talking about it. Meta, the company that owns Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp, is finally going on trial. The FTC wants to break it up because it says that when Meta bought Instagram and WhatsApp, it was engaging in monopolistic behavior under Section 2 of the Sherman Act, and the FTC wants its pound of flesh. Now, this is the FTC's landmark antitrust case, so they need it to go well. This is the biggest thing they've done in probably 2 decades. So basically, they're arguing that when Facebook bought WhatsApp and Instagram for $1 billion and WhatsApp for $19 billion, they bought those different platforms not to make their product better and not to improve their own product, but to kill competition before it became too big. Zuckerberg himself, in an email, famously wrote, "It is better to buy than to compete," which is antitrust sentiment, if you've ever heard it. Now, you might argue, well, Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp are free, so what's the big deal? Where is the consumer harm? Well, the FTC argues that there's consumer harm in the context of privacy, attention, and time. So in other words, the product quality went down, the ad load went up, and users are forced to spend more time on there. It's called a quality adjusted price increase. You don't pay in dollars, but you still pay if you're a consumer. So it's going to be a really, really interesting case. If the FTC wins, then Meta is probably going to have to spin off Instagram and WhatsApp, and it will be by far the biggest tech breakup of all time, and certainly the biggest government-forced tech breakup of all time. If Facebook Meta wins, then this may be the end of large-scale big tech regulation. There's a couple little interesting tentacles that go out from this. Number one, you might remember that the FTC did approve Facebook's purchase of Instagram in 2011 and Facebook's purchase of WhatsApp in 2014. So it makes it a little harder for the FTC to now say that those are monopolies, although they still can under Section 2 of the Sherman Act, because those purchases were approved under, I think, Section 7 of the Clayton Act. Another big thing is that when you are alleging a monopoly, you have to define the relevant market. And the FTC has said that the relevant market is personal social networking services. And that includes things like Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and WeMe, but it excludes things like Reddit and YouTube and LinkedIn. And so what Facebook is trying to say here is that the market is bigger, and it does include things like YouTube, and it does include things like LinkedIn and Reddit. And FTC is saying, no, it doesn't. It's a much smaller market of these PSNS type things. The third and final interesting tentacle of this is the political wrangling behind the scenes. So the FTC launched its initial complaint in 2020 in Trump's first term, and a Republican-led commission voted to do it 3-2. Well, that complaint was initially thrown out several months later, but then the new FTC under the Biden administration relaunched the complaint. So it's kind of been both parties in some sense going after Meta. And that second complaint went through with the full support of Biden's FTC chief, Lina Khan. And it's going to be interesting to see how Andrew Ferguson, the new FTC chief, who was on the commission as well in 2024, continues to go after this and what he continues to say publicly. On the surface, Lina Khan.
Did you know Mark Zuckerberg once wanted to delete all your Facebook friends just to boost engagement? We need to talk about it. Mark Zuckerberg is at the center of a significant antitrust trial that's going on right now. And he just concluded 3 days of testimony that was shocking. The FTC, or the the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has initiated this high-profile antitrust lawsuit against Meta, alleging that the acquisitions of Instagram in 2012 and WhatsApp in 2014 were strategic moves to eliminate competition in the personal social networking market. But during this trial, Mark Zuckerberg revealed he once suggested deleting everybody's Facebook friends so people would start fresh and boost engagement. And me, who is a Facebook user, I know I'm in that generation. I'm like furious about this. So he wanted to make users rebuild their friends list to reignite excitement around the platform. He even suggested testing it in a small country. Gratefully, it never actually happened because it got shot down eternally. But it shows how far Meta or Mark Zuckerberg is going to go to keep people hooked on their apps.
My. So you got it in a nutshell. Listen, like I told you, the outcome of this case has the ability to shake up the entire social media platform, from the way you view, from the way, if you happen to hit the lottery and decide to buy a couple of platforms yourself, will the government eventually, aka the FTC, come after you and say you're monopolizing the entire social media game and force you to sell off all your billions of dollars of businesses? Oh my God. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. I, for one, will definitely be keeping my eye on Mr. Facebook CEO, head honcho in charge himself. Will he eventually be found guilty for all of this mess? Now, mind you, everybody should be innocent until proven guilty. And it looks like that the court, the judge, is actually giving Mr. Zuckerberg and his crew a chance to actually get up on the stand and tell exactly what you meant. Now, an interesting fact, there's an email allegedly that an FBI agent had sent Mr. Zuckerberg, informing him and warning him that they were going to come after him if you sat there and spent that $1 billion on Instagram and a whole bunch of stuff. Like, do you guys think he's guilty of just being too darn rich, or is the government making sense? Like, share, comment, and subscribe.